Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie Bree, and today I'm talking about I'm ranking the top 10 horror villains of all time. So, I have another channel, Horror Trans, where I talk about horror things, so you can go ahead and check that out. But today I just wanted to rank the horror villains. I wanted to do a top 10 list because I could barely come up with 10 to fill out the list, so I didn't want to do like a 15, and I definitely couldn't do top 25. And I'm going to start the list off with number 10, and this is Michael Myers. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the Halloween franchise, and I racked my brain to find anybody to go in the number 10 spot that wasn't Michael Myers. But I couldn't find anybody that fit the spot. You know, nobody that was as iconic as this guy, so I went ahead and put him in number 10. You know, Michael Myers is famous for the Halloween movies. He's an escaped psychopath who gets out of a mental hospital. And he goes on a killing spree. And in some movies, he's chasing his sister. Other movies, he's just killing random people. I mean, it's bonkers. The timeline doesn't make a lot of sense. But yeah, Michael Myers, he has one move. He takes the knife and he stabs him into the wall. And that's it. He does it every fucking movie. Number 9 is Victor Crowley. Now, he made his first appearance in the Hatchet franchise, but then he got his own movie. And he is played by the legendary Kane Hodder, who also plays Jason in several of the Jason movies. So Victor Crowley is this kid who was deformed, who dies in a house fire, and his specter haunts the swamp where his house was. And anyone who goes into his swamp, he kills. It's pretty simple. It's basically Jason, basically. And he's another one because he's a specter. He's unkillable. So, you know, his movies are pretty gruesome. His kills are very violent. And he's very scary. Number 8 is Art the Clown. Now, he's from the Terrifier movies, but he also makes appearances in the All Hallows Eve movies, which is kind of weird. But Art the Clown is this silent serial killer who does some pantomime. And he stalks people and he kills them. And he, as far as I can tell, doesn't really have much in the way of motivation. I don't really understand. I don't know if they really have his backstory or not. I haven't seen all of the movies yet, but from what I have seen, he's just sort of some random murderer. But he is very gruesome, and he's very memorable. So when you see him, you will recognize him. Number 7 is Patrick Bateman. Now, he is from the movie American Psycho. Now, I almost put Norman Bates on here because he's from the classic Psycho, but I think Patrick Bateman's just a little bit more interesting as a character. He's this high society type rich dude who kills other high society type rich people. But he kills just for the thrill of it, just for the blood rush. That's his motivation. He just gets off on it. He also kills a lot of hookers because, you know, they're easy to lure into his house. So easy targets. Number 6 is Chucky, also known as Charles Lee Ray. Chucky is a serial killer who possesses a doll and becomes a killer doll. Chucky is known for his quips, his one-liners, but he's also known for being a bastard. He just kills for the fun of it. He doesn't really have much in the way of motivation. He's just a serial killer because he gets off on it, kind of like Patrick Bateman. But he actually does some creative kills. And I wouldn't say he's scary necessarily, but, you know, he definitely, you know, he uses the doll to his advantage and he can get into places other killers can't. So, you know, he definitely does like to hide and jump out at you, so he's known for his jump scares. Number 5 is Leatherface. Leatherface is the star of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, and he is a psychopath as well. His motivation, he is deformed, and he grew up in a family of weirdos, psychopaths themselves, monsters, who kill people because they're hillbillies and they got nothing better to do. So Leatherface is famous for using a chainsaw, but he does use other weapons from time to time. And what he does is he takes a knife and he skins somebody's face off, takes the skin, just carves their face off, and wears the skin from their face on his as a mask, and that's why he's called Leatherface. Number 4 is Ghostface. Ghostface is from the Scream franchise. Now, Ghostface isn't a singular killer. Every movie, it's a different killer, and sometimes it's two killers, sometimes it's one killer. But it's always somebody in the same costume, and it's always the same guy doing the voice. Ghostface's motivation changes, obviously, from film to film, and his or her kills, change from film to film. Sometimes it's well, most of the time it's stabbing, but sometimes they get creative and use the environment to their advantage. Sometimes they throw people off of buildings, things like that. Pretty interesting, a little bit scarier than some of these other guys, and a little bit more iconic, I would say, than some of these other guys. Number 3 is Pinhead from the Hellraiser franchise. Pinhead is just fucking fantastic. Basically, he's a demon, but he's also he's called a Cenobite, and he's also a priest of the demons or a priest of hell or something like that. Now, in the most recent movie, Pinhead was a female, but we're discounting that one for right now just because we're talking about Hellraiser as a whole, and as a whole, it's always been a dude. So Pinhead gets real creative with his kills, but he likes to torture people that he kills. He likes to use pain as pleasure. So he likes to torture them as a way for them to experience pain as pleasure. Number 2 is Jason Voorhees. He is just so fucking iconic. Jason is just like the silent killer who I think is better than Michael Myers 100% all the way. He definitely does way more creative kills. He's got way more variety. He's got a little bit more interesting backstory. He was a deformed kid who drowned in the lake, and then he comes back as a unkillable, basically zombie, if you will. Now, he doesn't officially become Zombie Jason until part 6, but I maintain he was a zombie the whole time because they established that he died in Friday the 13th part 1, and so he comes out of the lake, and he's a kid when he comes out of the lake, but then in part 2 he's an adult. So I kind of, in my head canon, he's always been a zombie, basically. And of course, number 1 is the greatest horror villain of all time. His name is Freddy Krueger. My favorite horror film of all time is A Nightmare on Elm Street. My favorite film of all time is A Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger is the best. He is famous for using your fears to kill you. He gets people in their dreams. He's got the most creative and fantastical kills of all of these horror killers. And he's got some of the best horror movies ever made. So definitely number 1 is Freddy Krueger. That's my list. Let me know what you think of this list. Who should have made the list, or who would have made the list if I did, say, a top 15 or so. That's all I have for today. Please comment, subscribe. Don't forget to share the video, and stay cool.